Hi, I'm Dr. Jean Fourie, and today I want to speak to you about this important topic of self-care. And I've entitled this Self-Care for the Helping and Teaching Professions because I believe that it's important for teachers, remedial teachers, learning support educators, people who are in the helping professions, psychologists, school counselors. All of these people are assisting learners who have difficulties and their families, and we need to take care of ourselves. So self-care is an ongoing process. It's a process of caring for yourself and making a conscious, deliberate effort to do certain things and to maintain, improve, and repair your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual wellness. Self-care is about having a deep awareness of your own being, your own needs, identifying what it is that you require, and then taking the necessary steps in order to ensure that you take care of yourself. We are facing complicated and challenging work environments and family dynamics, and you need to be able to protect and preserve yourself. Self-care is really important in times of trouble. When you have things in your personal life, such as a bereavement or an illness, some kind of family difficulties, financial stresses, and we all have been through the COVID pandemic, and some of us are still living with the after effects of that. So, taking care of yourself is the first important thing as a person in the helping professions, but also just as somebody who needs to be there to support your family and the learners and the families that you are in contact with. So we know that anybody who is assisting people on a regular basis, and this includes teachers, mental health professionals, doctors, anyone who are care providers, can suffer and get compassion fatigue. And compassion fatigue is when you are constantly giving of yourself and you are compassionate and caring, which is what makes us go into these professions. But it takes its toll. You get tired of constantly caring, being empathic, and dealing with high stress and trauma-laden contexts. So we are often dealing with lots of problems and traumatic events. And what happens is that it is easy then for people to become burnt out, to start um, self-doubting themselves, to not be there and present for the people that they are caring for, and we can um, not think problems through clearly, and then we can take decisions that might be unethical or have legal complications. So it is really important that we deeply consider taking care of ourselves first. The other thing that happens with people in the helping and teaching professions is that we get what is known as vicarious or secondary trauma. And this often happens when we are hearing difficult situations all the time. So we are hearing the problems that learners are having. We are hearing the difficulties that their parents are having. We are consulting people and listening to their difficult traumatic stories. And so we um, take on the emotions. We start to feel the compassion towards people, and emotions are kind of contagious. If someone is telling you something that they're having difficulty dealing with, we are empathic with them and we feel those same difficulties. So we put ourselves into other people's worlds, and um, we experience the trauma that they are going through vicariously. So it's not your own trauma, but we are constantly living through that trauma with other people. And so we are sometimes exposed to more traumatic events simply because of the secondary exposure. And this can lead to difficulties with self-care. We need to be able to keep a healthy balance between our work as teachers and as remedial teachers, as anyone in the profession that is caring for people, and keep this boundary between work and home so that aspects of your personal life do not become affected by the problems that you are dealing with in other people's lives. And as caring professionals, we often put people's needs first, but when we are in the consultation, in the session with a person, we need to be able to block out and put a boundary up between our personal lives and our personal emotions and needs, and then consider the person that we are dealing with in front of us. And as people in this profession, we often go the extra mile for the learners that we deal with, the pupils, the parents, the families, and other teachers that we are assisting. It is really important, therefore, that we look after ourselves and that we take care of ourselves. And this is called self-care. And self-care is an ongoing process. It is a constantly evolving, changing thing. As we grow and get older, our self-care needs will change, and we need to practice it and remember it and monitor ourselves constantly. So we have both an ethical and a personal mandate in order to ensure that we stay healthy. And self-care is not an indulgent process. It is not being selfish. It is a mature process where you are respecting yourself and respecting other people. So if we do not take care of ourselves, it is very difficult to take care of other people. I want to frame this talk on self-care structured around Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, the psychologist Abraham Maslow developed this really neat, easy to remember model of human motivation. This is what motivates us to take care of our needs, and he has structured it in a hierarchy. So it is a deliberate structuring of hierarchy where the bottom of the pyramid, in this case the yellow, takes care of one's most basic psychological needs. And these have to be taken care of before we can move up the hierarchy to take care of the other things like being safe and belonging and self-esteem. So in Maslow's original hierarchy, there were 5 levels, but recently a 6th level has been added, referring to transcendence and spirituality. So we can have a look. I'm going to structure this talk around this structure. So we're going to start with the lowest level, the physiological needs, and there are lots of things that you can do in order to ensure that your physiological needs are taken care of. But I'm going to go through a couple of these and give you, as I go, I'm just going to give you some tips on things that you can do that are easy and constant to maintain some kind of investment in your own health and yourself. So these, for me, at the physiological level, are micro care. Micro being small, daily, continual things that you do, such as breathing. And there's a lot of research that's being done into being able to control your breath and being able to breathe with techniques that relax you and that lower the heart rate. And most of these techniques require you to think through how you do your breathing. So I'm going to demonstrate the first technique for you, which is a technique where you breathe in for the count of 4, you hold your breath for the count of 7, and then you breathe out, exhaling through your mouth for the count of 8. And we know from research that when you are breathing out in a slow manner, that this calms down the central nervous system, and it has a way of reducing the body's stress that it is feeling internally. So you breathe in through your nose for a count of 4, and you can do this with me as I am demonstrating this. So in for a count of 4 through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe out, and for a count of 8. So you need to count in your head. Breathing in for a count of 4, holding for a count of 7, and breathing out for a count of 8. So you can do this calming breathing exercise in any situation where you're finding that there is stress. It is not a breathing exercise that you do all the time. You do it 2 or 3 times, and that's fine. Then you go back to your normal breathing pattern. But what it does do, it gives you a conscious time to think through calming your body when you are in some kind of stressful situation. So breathing is really important, and for anyone who is practicing any of the meditational arts or yoga things, you will know that they all start with focusing on control of the breath. We also need to take care of our diets and have nutritional balanced meals. And I know that we are a nation that does a lot of fast food and quick eating, but start to take care, at least try and have one meal a day where you do mindful eating. And mindful eating is where you really sit down, enjoy the food, taste it, and be in the present moment for that. You can look at some websites on positive psychology, which give lots of ideas about how to do mindful care. Ensure that you are drinking enough water, particularly if it is hot weather, and that you are staying hydrated. We know that brains function best when they are well hydrated, when there is enough water in the system. We also need to get proper sleep, and a lot of people are complaining that they do not sleep for enough hours, and we are also experiencing a society that is changing their circadian rhythms, and these are the rhythms, the normal natural rhythms in your head of waking up when the sun comes up and getting relaxing when the sun goes down, and then by the time it's really dark, 10 o'clock or so, one should be going to sleep. But we are staying up later and later, so we are moving the circadian rhythms to later in the evenings, and this is having effects on our brains that are not being able to do enough of the restorative processes during our sleep patterns. So please check that you are practicing good sleep hygiene. And this hygiene are all the practices that are performed around the process of going to sleep, calming down, setting the room correctly, getting things dark, and so on. So you can have a look at sleep hygiene practices to assist you as well. And then we need to ensure that we are getting regular exercise, appropriate exercise for you. We know from lots of research that regular exercise keeps our bodies fit, but also keeps our cognitive processes sharp and keeps our immune systems healthy. So ensure that you are putting some kind of exercise routines into your daily lives. With all, and then the last one is just taking care, it's not just, is taking care of your health. Ensure that you are scheduling those important regular medical checkups for yourselves. There are regular things that you need to do, checkups for breast cancer, your diabetes, blood pressure, all of those things. Go to your GP and make sure that your physical body is functioning well. We have risks for each of these hierarchies that Maslow has given us. If we do not take care of the self-care that's required in each of those levels, there are risks associated with that. So in the physiological space, if we are not taking care of our health and ensuring that our physical being is functioning well, we know that we can develop stress-related illnesses, all sorts of difficulties with physical body functionings, and psychiatric conditions can develop. We know that we can get tension headaches, and sleep patterns can disrupt our daily functioning. And we need to think about the effects that our lifestyle is having on our physical bodies, and we don't often take the trouble to do that. And what happens is people then can ameliorate these risks with self-medication, using alcohol, drugs, prescription medicine, and various risky behaviors that can be that we can go, and do. So it's really important that you take care of the basic underlying physiological needs as the foundational aspect of all self-care. Then the next level that Maslow has is the level of care from a safety and security perspective. And here is where we are trying to keep ourselves in safe environments. And safe environments have got to do with um, the physical safety of where we work. Are we working in a space that will be safe for us and the people that we are dealing with our clients? So is it a space that the person who is with you is going to feel physically safe in as well? The communities that we live in are often not safe with um, gangs and protests and riots and robberies, and we live in high security with fences, and this is all contributing sometimes to our feelings of not feeling safe and secure. We also know that there is an aspect of financial security and how much money we have in order to ensure that we are taking care of our basic needs, putting a roof over our heads and getting enough food, nutritious food to eat. All of these financial difficulties also can play out in the safety and security space over here. So please make sure that whichever space or room you are using to do your remedial work or your counseling work with parents and children, make sure that the room is a secure base, a place that you can rely on. Take care of the colors of the walls, that they are inviting, that the lighting is adequate, that your desks and chairs where you place them are inviting and give people a sense of security. Because if you are working in a space that you feel safe and secure in, so will your clients that you are dealing with. So one little tip that I want to teach you here is about hugging. And it is a technique called hug yourself. And we know that touch, and particularly deep touch that goes deeply into the muscles, is very good for our sense of well-being. So there's been research on this technique of hugging yourself and providing these feelings of safety and security, and hugging yourself can reduce physical and emotional pain when you are feeling very nervous or afraid or anxious. Just go into a little safe space somewhere and give yourself a good hug. Wrap your arms around yourself, around your chest and your shoulders, and hold yourself for at least deeply for at least 20 seconds. The timing is important because if you hug yourself for less than that, it does not release the endorphins that make you feel better, and you need to give yourself at least a 20-second or more strong physical hug in order to release the endorphins to feel better. So imagine that you are the small little child inside yourself and you are the big older sister, and you are giving yourself a good solid hug. And this is a technique, a very simple technique that you can do to ensure that you feel better in times of severe stress and anxiety. So I hope you're all practicing some hugging there in the background. The next level is talking about the sense of belonging. And when Maslow spoke about this, he spoke about the feeling of belonging to some kind of a group. We are social beings and we need to be part of a family, some nuclear family or a wider family circle. We're part of communities, churches, and clubs. And in Africa, we have this wonderful Ubuntu where we are part of the community. We are who we are because of the other people in our lives. So we know from research that if people are isolated and not part of a community, that this can have negative effects on well-being. So as a caring professional, a person who is in the caring sphere, there are rituals that we can do that remind us that we are part of a bigger group of people. And the first ritual is called feeling love. And feeling love is a grounding practice. It's a practice that we do to create the feeling of connectedness and to train us to be better able to both give and receive the support in our communities. So usually this ritual is done at the beginning of the day, at the start of your day. You again, it's got to do with breath. As you're breathing in, you imagine that you are breathing in the word love. You're breathing in the word love and you're receiving it from the people around you. And then when you are breathing out, you visualize that you are breathing love and care flowing out of you towards your family, your partner, your friends, the people you work with, flowing out of you, love flowing in and out as part of an endless cycle of the people that you care about. So that is a really simple visualization exercise. The next exercise that we can do to improve this feeling of belonging is called the circle of care. And the circle of care is an energizing exercise to feel more connected with a broader community of people who are helpers themselves. So other teachers and other professionals in the sphere. So you need to have in your place of work where you are working, as you get into your office at the beginning of the day, there needs to be a little object that is circular. It can be a coin or a ball or a marble, something that is circular. And hold this object in your hand and imagine all the people who are also in this profession. And say to yourself, I am part of a vast group of helpers around the world, and we are helping people. It's really important that you feel that you are part of a bigger community of the helping profession. Your role is bigger than just the singular thing that you are doing in your particular office. So you have a larger connectivity than the isolation that you might feel when you are working sometimes one-on-one in a small space. So the risks of associated with this level of belonging. If we are not feeling connected, and if we are not part of a bigger group, we have this sense of loss and isolation. And this can lead to all sorts of difficulties with relationships, with friendships. We can sometimes get far too busy and preoccupied with what's going on with work or with family, and we lose the sense of deep connection to other people. The difficulties associated here are with the boundaries that we set. And we need to be, we're part of a bigger group, but we also need to set boundaries to protect ourselves and our clients. This boundary between the practitioner and the client is really crucial to maintain appropriate professional and personal relationships and boundaries with your clients. Remember that the people that you are serving, that you are working with, the learners, the families, are not your personal friends. They are your clients, and we need to be constantly respectful of that, and do not let the personal and professional boundaries overlap. That gets you into ethical and difficulties, ethical and legal problems. So be careful of the boundaries associated with the helping professions. I also want to give you another tip here about this level, and that has got to do with time management. So be careful how you manage your time and the amount of connectivity. We live in a world that is deeply connected. People can WhatsApp you and email you at any time of the day and night, which is fine, but it does not mean that you have to be available for them at that time. So set time boundaries as well. Look at your diary. Ensure that there are clear appointments and clear times that you set aside for dealing with people, and also times that you set aside for self-care. And you need to have spaces in your time for your micro activities, your exercise and meals, and time for regular medical checkups, and time just to have time out to recoup and go on holiday and have a vacation and spend time doing things you want to do with your family, and not always be worrying about other people. So the next level up in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, once we have taken care of physiological and safety and belonging needs, is that we can then start to think about our own personalities, our self-esteem, and we look here at our achievements, the things we've done, and all the emotional aspects around all of this. So here we are developing the confidence as we are getting better at our profession, and we are developing the capacity to make realistic plans, to be positive, and to understand our own strengths and the things that we can do really, really well. You will be developing all the self-compassion for your clients, But with the self-compassion and with thinking about your own self-care and how you manage all of these things, you will start to develop resilience. And resilience is an aspect, an emotional resilience. This is an aspect where you're able to experience some kind of adversity, go through something really traumatic and difficult, but you're able to bounce back and you're able to come back and stay within your own well-being as you are taking care of yourself. So we know that people who are good at self-care are more resilient when they have to deal with adverse things happening in their lives. So the understanding at this level that we are imperfect human beings, nobody is perfect, and we are going to therefore be compassionate with ourselves. We're going to be understanding that we will make mistakes and we will move on from that, and it is not something that defines us. So your inner little voice, the inner, we call it the inner coach, the voice inside your head, can be quite critical of yourself if you're a person who really wants to keep everything perfect and be a perfectionist. But we need to train our inner voices also, that we are imperfect, and we need to say to ourselves, it's fine, that we made a mistake, but we can move on and we can learn from it and we can get better at it. So the risks associated with a practitioner who is not able to be compassionate with themselves at this level and be professional is that the practitioner might become overwhelmed. We know that there are lots and lots of difficulties we are dealing with. We feel the overwhelmed and overloaded work that we have to do. We become exhausted, and then all sorts of negative emotions of anger and depression and anxiety and irritableness and despair can start to come forward. And we can start to be cynical about the things that we are doing and pessimistic about the future. And we start to lose hope in our clients and the ability of our clients to change and to overcome their difficulties. So we need to be working constantly on how do we stay in our space of looking after our own selves in order to be able to assist our clients with their difficulties. And Maslow says that once you have come to meet all these needs, you are then at, and this is all of these hierarchies are interchangeable and we're working on all of them simultaneously, but you are then able to self-actualize. And this is where you're able to make a positive contribution and to reach your full potential. You're contributing to the workplace, to your families, to society and community, and you're able to upgrade your education, you're able to think, and you're able to go and explore things and stay curious and engage in creative activities such as hobbies and art and gardening and music, whatever creative things you're able to do. And if we are not feeling this positive contribution towards society, we start to run the risk of not being creative and being completely overwhelmed and we stop striving to reach our full potential. So be careful that you are not overworking and that you are not becoming burnt out, because if we don't have all these other little things, and they don't have to be big, couple of minutes of gardening or creative time for yourself, if we don't do these things, then we are becoming purely work orientated. And there is a really useful quote from Socrates, one of the ancient Greek philosophers, who warns us, and this was in ancient times, who warns people, beware the barrenness of a busy life. Do not be so busy with your work and admin and paperwork and everything that you have to do that it leaves little space for you to have other things in your lives. And then the last level, which has been added to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is the level of spirituality and transcendence. And here is where we are understanding that we are part of a universal, bigger picture. And this is where practices such as meditation and yoga and keeping personal journals and diaries might be useful. And I want to go through one little exercise, which also comes from the mindfulness positive psychology movement, which is called tea in a bubble. And tea in a bubble is just exactly that. When you are having your tea break during a very busy day, and it just needs to be a short 3 to 5 minute little thing when you are sitting and having your tea or coffee. Stop thinking about all the other things that you have to do. Just sit in a little bubble of your own being with your cup of tea and experience the moment. Feel the heat of the tea in your hand, experience the taste and what it smells like, and just keep those couple of minutes as sacred, peaceful time for yourselves. Don't look at your cell phone and worry about your emails and things that are happening. Just sit and be for a short little bubble of time. And we know that these short little breathing exercises, mindful eating, little tea breaks, these micromanagement things are what contribute in the long run to our emotional well-being. Then there is also something to be said for being alone and having a little bit of solitude to yourselves at times, to reflect on things, to potter around, to tidy up a cupboard, and to just think about creative things, think about your family, think about things that need to be done. So meditation, solitude, those are useful things. And there's a lot of research on laughter, and laughter is one of those things that helps us to release tension. It's re-energizing. It allows us to put the difficulties of life into perspective and to get back to enjoying family and friends and the people around us. So I hope that has been useful to structure how you think about your self-care needs, which need to happen on a regular basis. It's not, oh, I'll do self-care in the holidays. Self-care happens every single day. So in ending, I would like to read with you a pledge which I would like you to commit to as people who are going into a profession where you are dealing with learners and children and families and people who are having difficult times. So you may read this aloud with me, or you may read it softly, but I would like you to pledge to the following. I will develop a clear business plan for my teaching practice, to manage it with diligence, accountability, and fairness. I will work collaboratively with my colleagues as we are a professional community of practitioners and we offer each other mutual support. I will take responsibility for my own well-being as essential to sustaining good practice. I will monitor my own physical, emotional, and psychological health. I will maintain my own physical, emotional, and psychological health at a level that enables me to work effectively with my clients and to deliver a service of high quality. I will seek professional support and services for myself as the need arises. I will keep a healthy balance between my work and personal aspects of my life. And so we've come to the end of that, and I hope that you are going to take care of yourselves as you go into the practice that you are going to be doing on your own. Thank you very much for listening.